ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Statues versus Figures video. Now today, I had the pleasure of talking to the awesome Batman statue collector, aka Chris. Now this video has been a long time in the making, and finally we were able to get it done. Technically, it was only supposed to go up on his channel, but I thought it might be fun to shoot a little intro and outro and pop it up here as well, just in case any of y'all missed it. Do check out Batman Statue Collector on YouTube though, the link for that is of course in the description below. But without further ado, let's bring Chris out here and talk some statues versus figures.
Well, we are so excited to finally get to talk to you in person. I've been following your channel for years, and it's so cool to be able to talk to a fellow collector. And you are an absolutely incredible collector for sure. Your channel is just unbelievable. And if you were living under a rock, you should know his channel for sure by now. But Justin, tell us a little bit about your channel on YouTube.
Sure, that was an amazing intro, by the way. That might be one of the best intros that I've ever gotten. So thank you for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I started mainly as a figure collector, but I guess now it works out well that we're collabing because I've also started picking up some statues. But my channel is mostly figure reviews. I've started doing some movie reviews as well. I just want to be your go-to if you want to see something fun, if you want to see something affordable or something pricey, and if you want to talk about film, then you can come along and check us out because, we like to have a bit of fun on the channel.
Absolutely. And that's what we do here on YouTube. We're all about, spreading our knowledge and interacting with the community. And I would imagine in the statue collecting community, I know that we've created this amazing, amazing place where collectors come together. What have your experiences been like creating this channel and being able to interact with the community like you do?
I think that was part of content creation that I didn't really get into until recently. So I wasn't really doing much live streaming. I was just focused on videos, up until this year when, I should technically say half of last year and this year when the COVID happened and we were locked down and we were stuck at home, and in between recording, I didn't have anything to do. So I was like, you know what? I think it's about time. All of these other amazing channels are talking to the community and they're getting involved. I want to get involved too. And I want to be able to talk to people, answer questions that I'm sure they have for me. So I started doing live streaming, and it's been great. It's been so much fun getting to know people in the community that watch my videos and really enjoy the videos, but want to know more about me because I was kind of like, nobody knew anything about me. But I was able to give them a little bit of an insight into what I do, how I do it, why I do it, why I collect, and that's been probably one of the highlights for me during this whole lockdown period is being able to live stream more. And I've met some amazing content creators like yourself. If I was just so focused on making videos as I was before, then this I don't think would have happened. So I'm really glad that I'm able to do stuff like this. It's again, it all comes back to doing it for fun. It's something that brings joy, not only for us, but for the people who watch our videos. So to be able to bring our channels together like this, I think is pretty awesome. But I'm talking obviously about the figure collecting community. I haven't had much time in the statue collecting community. So a question for you, how have you found the statue community in the same way that I obviously discovered my footing in the figure community, talking to people and engaging with my audience? You've done it a little bit differently to the way I've done it, right?
Yeah, I kind of started, I started the channel, and at first I didn't put myself on camera. I know a lot of your videos, you have you spotlight the figures and not necessarily yourself. Yeah. And I remember the first time I heard you, I'm like, your voice is so amazing. Like your voice is perfect for YouTube. I could listen to it for hours. And people have told me the same thing. They're like, you have a really calming voice, and so that's really cool to hear. But I also started a Facebook community, and that's kind of where it started. And Batman Statue Collector, Brotherhood of the Bat Collectibles on Facebook. And, just got a lot of like-minded people, but my focus has always been positivity. There is so much negativity, and I'm sure there's negativity in the figure collecting world as well.
Yeah.
I was just tired of the negative, calling people out or trashing pieces. I was just tired of it. And in general, in my real life, I'm a counselor. And so like, I just believe in putting positive vibes out there. And so that's what I wanted my group and my community to be. And it's just, skyrocketed into all of these like-minded collectors that also want to be positive, that, are wanting to critique pieces here and there, but in a fair way. And, then I started Instagram and other, TikTok and other things like that. And I just think the community has grown so much over the years. And again, I just really contribute that to having so many people want to be positive and enjoy, like you said, enjoy this hobby and, just come together and talk about the things we love.
Yeah, I think it's really important to find those like-minded people. I also started a Facebook group, but it turns out that it's still great, don't get me wrong, but it turns out that figure collecting, because it's so accessible compared to statue collecting with a super high price tag and, premium pieces, figure collecting is a lot more accessible. So I found that a good portion of the Facebook community is rather aggressive with their critiques, let's just say. So Facebook community, I've not gotten that involved with. I do have a group, but I like to keep that, it's an auxiliary sort of, what are the statue
Yes,
collectors called? The proximity piece, if you will.
that's right. Absolutely.
It sits to the side, and the YouTube, I think, is the main thing. But it's interesting to hear that about the statue community, that, you've come together, you've got your like-minded folks, and they critique it firmly but fairly. I think one of the most recent statue controversies has been that Prime 1 Heath Ledger Joker. So I was sent pics day one, those same pics that you showed, and I was like, let's just wait and see. Because it's not just like that with statues, like that with figures as well. We just recently got Mysterio, and the Jake Gyllenhaal head sculpt look awful. It looked terrible in the promo pics. But in hand, it was incredible. It was one of the best head sculpts they've ever done. So I said to the people that sent me the pictures, I said, I'm not casting any judgment. I'm going to wait and see. I don't have any stake in the game. I have the Queen Studios one. I'm thinking about getting the Prime, but honestly, it doesn't matter to me if one is good or bad. I'm going to be super fair. And then when the new pictures came out, it looked a hell of a lot better. People were like, oh, okay. I guess all of the times that we did that previously, it's the same thing again. I mean, it turns out that if you do wait, then you could technically see some better pictures and it shows a little bit better. So lessons learned by the community, I think, is important overall as well.
It really is. And one term that we've learned, and I've really learned on this channel or doing this channel, is patience. We want stuff the minute it's up for pre-order, and I'm sure you are as a figure collector, especially.
Of course. Yeah.
But notoriously, pictures are always bad at first. Like, they're always bad. Like, no matter what. Like, there's never going to be a good photo right out of the gate. And the community, I think some people understand that, some people don't. That Ledger Joker, I also have that Queen Studios piece. And I have the Prime 1 piece on pre-order, and it's actually going to be shipping this week directly from Prime 1. So I kept that Prime 1 pre-order when so many people canceled, because I want to give it a fair shake. And again, as the week progressed, we did have better photos of that piece. Yep. And again, it's very rarely do we get something that's going to match the prototype perfectly. And I don't know if it's always that way with the hot toy community. But I think in general, especially if it's a movie piece, it's not going to be as good as the prototype. But the statues, a lot of times the comic book based statues they're usually pretty darn close. Sometimes the paint is a little bit less, but I'm really optimistic about this piece. And again, I'm excited to review it for the channel. And I'm a major Heath Ledger Joker fan. I named my son Ledger after him. So nice. I cannot wait to add that to my collection. And again, I hope it's great, but my fingers are crossed for sure.
Fingers are crossed for me too, because I actually did tell my statue guy, I'm a statue dealer, if you, I don't know if that seems like a dirty word. I have one reserved. I've got one coming as well. So I'm going to give it a fair go. Recently, there's been this whole thing that I revealed, I guess, that I would prefer to get something in hand, specifically if we're content creators, we're reviewers. I feel that to cast judgment on something before we see it in hand, if we can, or at least we see really good quality pics and videos, etc., I feel it's not necessarily fair to the piece. So I want to give it a fair go as well. I told my statue guy, I said, hey, if you have one available, he said, yep, got some coming in January. I said, cool, I will take one of the slots. I will take one. So I will also give it a fair go, you know?
That's awesome. So again, definitely check out Justin's channel because he's going to do a great review, and I cannot wait to see what you think about that piece. And it's cool. It's cool that you're going into the statue collecting realm a little bit more. But I do want to ask you, primarily as a Hot Toys collector, how did you
Mhm.
first get interested in collecting those?
Well, back when Hot Toys was a lot smaller when I started because they haven't been around forever. They've been around since 2007-ish in the form that they are now. They were a third-party company, so everything that they were making was unlicensed, which, you know, a lot of companies start out as unlicensed, just how it happens.
Absolutely.
But back in those days when I was in high school, I've always been obsessed with costuming and prop replicas. And in film, specifically, when I remember sitting in the theater watching Batman Begins, and we saw the bat suit, and I was like, oh, I would love to see what that looks like in person one way or another. And then when Hot Toys made that super, well, not anymore, but back in the day, the
Was
super
then,
high
yeah.
end version of the suit, and I could own it and I could see it's a miniature version of the costume. I wasn't necessarily wanting an action figure. I wasn't necessarily wanting something that screamed Christian Bale when I looked down the shelf. I wanted the suit itself. That's all I cared about. So years and years went by because I couldn't afford it. I was in high school, obviously, and my taste kind of evolved. I just watched Iron Man, the first MCU movie. I remember coming out of the cinema and I had the same feeling. Oh, I want that suit somehow, some way. So I waited for Hot Toys to make one, and then I managed to find one loose on eBay years later because I was still studying, still didn't wasn't making a ton of money. I managed to find one loose on eBay, and that was my first ever figure. Was the Iron Man Mark III, the 1.0. It was horrible. It was really bad, but back then it was awesome. It was all that I could think about. Was I need to get more of these damn things. And then when I met my now wife, she got me this Man of Steel Superman. That changed everything because that was incredible. I love the heck out of that thing. And then it was, oh, what's coming out next? BVS. Okay, got to get my pre-orders in, and those were the first ones I pre-ordered. Was BVS, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, and then it just went from there. Any film that was coming out, and I was like, oh, love the look of that suit. Need to have that. So it wasn't necessarily. A lot of people think figures equal just, oh, you want it for the articulation, you want it for the posability. For me, that was never a factor. But now that it turns out people really do care about the articulation. It's like the number one complaint. It's like, oh, the suit is like this material, and then you can't move it like that, and you can't pull off this pose. And for me, that I never really cared about any of that stuff anyway. So it's been kind of a breath of fresh air to do a little bit of statue stuff because that stuff, all of those like main complaints, they become no longer an issue because you don't have to pose it. You still get that super high end version of that suit, except now you don't have the stresses of worrying about material, most of the time at least, material creasing or damaging or degrading over time. So that's my story on how I guess, started with figures and now, a little bit dipping my toe in the water at least for the statues. Just a little.
Well, it's awesome to hear because it was a very similar start for me. I started again that 07-ish time.
Yep.
The Dark Knight was getting ready to come out, and those were my first pieces. I got that Batman Begins, I got the Dark Knight pieces, the Joker pieces, and I also had like a Jack Sparrow, and I also had the Iron Man that you mentioned as well. And again, I was just amazed by the detail, and it really did feel like they were the living, breathing character right in front of you. But what kind of swayed me was the exact same point that you were making, is that I feel like, figures are amazing. They are great. The head sculpts are absolutely phenomenal. But for some reason, it was what I was drawn to was the statues and the fact that they were that one pose, and you didn't have to really mess with it. Of course, over the years, that's kind of translated a little bit to other all these swap outs and different options and different posability. So, I mean, that is nice because it does kind of give your statue kind of a fresh look or a fresh life. But it's just been interesting how that has changed over the years. But whenever you were collecting these figures, how did you translate to starting a YouTube channel and because of your
Ooh.
interest?
That's a good question. Once I've finished answering, I'll flip it over to you and ask the same thing because
Yeah.
I never really planned on doing a YouTube channel. It's not like some people are like, oh, he fired up a deal with X supplier and then he, got every ducks in a row and then started the channel. No, absolutely not. I was already buying stuff early because how it works for figures is, and I guess it might work this way for statues too. If something is released in Hong Kong by Hot Toys, because they're a Hong Kong based company, you'll get it earlier than if you get it from somewhere else. So I was always that impatient collector. I needed to have it ASAP. So I was already buying from Hong Kong anyway. It never really went in the way that people thought it went, how I got the supplier lined up. So I was buying stuff early. Then my friend said, hey, you're already doing all this. And I know that there's stuff that you want to see in videos that you don't get to see. Why don't you give it a go making your own videos? And I had been doing YouTube reviews of other stuff. I actually had a car review channel, if you'll believe. I was reviewing cars, and he said, you're okay on camera. You've had time now. When you first start being on camera, it's a little bit awkward. You're trying to find your footing. So he said, you can speak on camera. Why don't you give it a go? I said, all right, I may as well. I bought myself a light box, and my first videos were horrible. But for some reason, people were watching, and it was like 10 views, and I was like, yes, 10 views, that's awesome. And those comments were really encouraging. They said, hey, if you are getting more, why don't you do more videos? And then as the years went by, I would change things and add things. So I have my core formula, I guess, if you will. So my certain shot list planned out. So when you watch one of my videos, you know exactly what you're going to get. You know exactly what you're not going to see, which back in the day was articulation. I never covered it because I didn't care about it. And they were asking every single video, articulation, articulation. I was like, so finally, I added in articulation, and now my formula, I guess, was complete. But I'm still experimenting. Every now and then, I'll try something new. I'll add something in. I'll do something a slightly different way. So even though I have been doing it for a while, I still try and keep it fresh. Try and keep it engaging and do fun and new and interesting stuff. But I guess I want to flip that question now, like I said, and ask you the same thing, Chris. When, how, why did you start your YouTube channel?
Well, my YouTube journey has now been 5 years. We just celebrated our 5-year anniversary here recently. And it's funny
Nice.
because
Congratulations.
thank you very much. And just like you, I had no intention on being a YouTuber, certainly. But I put a room tour video. I had this, high-end collection. And I just thought somebody might want to see this. I had been watching some reviews, and back then there weren't a ton of statue reviewers. There were only a few. And so I just wanted to put my collection out there, and that was kind of going to be it. I don't even know if I would still be called the Batman statue collector. It's just the name I put on the video, because that's what I do. I collect Batman statues. And so I had just such a good response and such feedback that people were like, we want to see more. We want to see you do this. We want to see you do that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So my first videos, again, were awful. I mean, they were just bad. They were just me behind the camera on my cell phone, showing off my statues. But then as as more people got involved and were commenting and, again, not very many people were commenting or viewing, but it kept encouraging me to like, okay, well, this is really cool. And then again, for me, what really started it all was, again, that community aspect. And then I felt like I just wanted to continue to give back. I wanted to like share my experiences with people because like you were doing car videos. There's a lot of cars that I would love to have that I can't afford. But these statues, this is where my hobby is. This is where my passion is. And so I thought, well, there's some people out there that might not be able to ever see these in real life. And so I just wanted to share my passion with the community. And so that's really where it all came. It's just really been interesting. It's been a crazy ride for sure. But again, I'd never really set out to do this for sure.
I wonder if that origin story is the same for every YouTuber, like collectible YouTuber at least. Like I never really planned on it, but like here I am, and I don't regret anything. I love the channel. It's been a blast. So I wonder if other content creators have that same origin story. It's like a shared origin story. It'd be quite funny to find out.
I bet there's a lot of people that are, and there's a lot of people that fall into it. I'm sure there are a lot of people that, that want to use it as a platform to move on to other things. Again, the great thing about this channel is, some channels, they start out like this, and then, like you said, they go into movie reviews or they show their
Yep.
daily life, and that's a lot of fun. And so it could just be a springboard into something else. But if nothing else happens to be on this channel, if I don't ever do any other kind of videos, I could say that I'm really happy just doing this type of content. But that's a good question. I bet there are a lot of community creators that definitely started out just like we did, for sure.
Yeah, I would imagine. I would imagine so. But interestingly enough, I do have, like you just said, I've got a question regarding if you are planning on ever doing anything going in depth on figures. I don't know if you would ever go back into figures, or if you're sticking with statues, or if you're planning on adding different type of content, movie related stuff, or it's just going to be statues going forward.
Well, I have one thing I do on the channel is I do a lot of guest reviews. So I have people that are willing to film reviews for the channel, things that I wouldn't necessarily get in. So from time to time, we have featured some hot toys. I have had some hot toys in the back cave, and I've done some reviews. They don't tend to do as well on the channel because I think people think Batman statue collector, they want to get my opinion on things. They want to get my opinion on the statues. And there's so many other great channels like you. I mean, you do it so amazingly well that, it's hard to compete with that. So I think that people, if they think hot toys, they think of channels like yours. And so there has been times where I've thought about doing more hot toys content, and I might from time to time. I just don't know how much interest there is on this channel. But obviously you've branched out into the statue world. How hard was it to transition into that? Was it kind of a scary step for you, or did you just kind of fall into it naturally?
It was scary because I just redesigned this room specifically for my figures alone. So I've got 4 third scales in here, and all my other third scales are unfortunately all around the house. I apologize to my wife for that. We're trying to sort out a solution. I don't know what it will be, but we're trying to sort it out. So I never planned on getting into third scale statues, but I started streaming with my friend Will, and he said, "Hey, they're awesome. Give it a go." And he said, "Surely there's that one character for you that if you could get a larger format version of him, then that would be your ultimate piece." And I was like, "Ooh, let me even think about that." So I sat down and I was like, if I wanted to get one statue, what would it be? It was theoretical at that point. I hadn't decided. And I found the Prime 1 Suicide Squad Batman in the BVS style suit with the branding iron thing. And I was like, ooh, I would love to get that. So I looked around, and a local collector was selling one without a box, pickup only, for an insanely cheap price. It was still great condition, came with everything. So I messaged him and I was like, hey, just to see, you still have it? He said, yes, obviously, I still have it, still listed. And we negotiated back and forth, and I ended up getting it for an even better deal. And I couldn't pass up on it at that point. I was like, okay, fine, let's do it. But at that point, it was still lockdown. So I wasn't, for those who don't know, in Australia, the lockdown was so severe that you couldn't travel outside a 5-kilometer bubble. So he was further than 5 kilometers, so I couldn't go and get it. So I had to find a way to get this statue to me. So he packed it all up, and we actually called a taxi. So I called a taxi to pick up this Batman statue. It cost me $200, which I was still okay with because the price of the statue was so good. The taxi picked up the statue, drove it all the way down, drove like an hour and a half, drove it down to me, and then I unboxed that damn thing, and I sat down, and I was like, oh my God. It's the P word that people use with statue all the time, presents. And I thought that was rubbish. I was like, what are you talking about, presents? Nonsense. But that guy had it. He had it in spades, and I sat there and I was staring at it. And then he had all the swap out pieces, and I was like, hey, I'm trying out. Switch the head sculpt, switch the hand, give him the grappling gun, give him the gas canister gun that he used in BVS. So much fun changing all the parts and pieces out. And that was it. I was hooked at that point. I was looking at, what's my next piece going to be? And then I was like, imagine if I could get the whole Justice League. And that was a crazy thought. And my wife was like, don't do it. And I was like, I might. and then it snowballed from there up until last night. I picked up my final Justice League member, which is Cyborg. I don't know where they're going to go. I've got some in the guest room. I've got some in the spare room. I've got There's Wonder Woman is in here. I also ended up picking up other stuff as well. I've got Shazam. I watched your review on the Batman, the Queen Studios Batman. So I ended up picking up Queen Studios Batman and Joker with the big base, which, by the way, I don't know if you have that in hand yet, because I know you said you're getting it. That thing is really long. So I don't even know if I'm going to be able to make use of that, because it's like longer than I expected. It's
Wow.
huge.
I actually have a retailer that's holding one for me, so I will be getting it, but I don't have it in yet. So I'm really anxious to see. But it does look
It's
like
so
it's really
heavy.
quite deep, which I am worried about. And
Yeah.
you mentioned statues all over the house.
Yeah.
So the biggest issue with statue collectors, by far, more than money, is
Space.
space. Is space. Now, as a figure collector, I would imagine that, obviously you have a tremendous amount of figures, and obviously space becomes an issue. But I would assume that it's a lot more convenient to have the figures because of the less amount of space that it takes up. Where these, like, I collect the 1/3 scale, and obviously you're collecting 1/3 scale. These things are
Yeah.
massive. They take up a tremendous amount of real estate, and if you want to display them in a really nice way, I mean, you can put them all next to each other, and they could look crowded or junky sometimes. But do you find it kind of a little bit of a stress relief collecting figures, the fact that you don't have to have as much space for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Figures are so much easier to find a home for. Like, you could fit maybe, I don't know, maybe 20, 30, 40, even more figures in the space that 1/3 scale demands. Because they are so tall, they are usually quite wide, you could have multiple layers of figures in the space that 1/3 scale would take up, which is kind of why I didn't want to get into them. I was like, ooh, I really like the look of some, but I don't have the space. But then Hot Toys are stepping into larger scale stuff anyway. They're approaching the size of a 1/3 scale, not with the figures themselves, but with the 1/4 scale figures that they're doing. Their bases are getting huge because they are trying to give you that P word, presence, out
Mhm.
of a figure. And for some of them, they are kind of working. That new 1/4 scale Batman that they're doing with that base with the different villain heads, and you flip it around and you got the gargoyle. I mean, they're clearly going after what the statue makers are doing with that, and they're doing it with Spidey, with diorama bases, and that's the one thing where I think Prime One was excelling more so than Hot Toys with the big scale stuff for me was the bases. Like the gargoyle base that Justice League Batman is stepping on, which is literally the shot from the movie where J.K. Simmons looks up and he sees Batman on the gargoyle and he swoops down. That sort of
Perfect.
stuff, we weren't getting that. We were getting these plastic bases that weren't all that exciting, like something like that.
Yep.
And it just doesn't cut it when you have something so awesome and so movie specific from a statue piece. So now that they are stepping into it, I guess it eased my transition because I was already starting to collect the biggest stuff with their 1/4 scale figures and the big bases. So it made it a little bit easier, I guess. Not so easy, but a little bit.
Well, one other thing that I think that figures has always had that's kind of trumped statues over the years has been the incredible likeness of the head sculpts. But now we're seeing companies like Queen Studios, Infinity Studios, and Prime One in some cases that are creating these incredible, realistic, good head sculpts. Has that kind of created a buzz in the figure collecting world? Like, because again, that was always the really strong suit, in my opinion, was those great head sculpts. Has that freaked everybody out a little bit?
Oh yeah, big time. So when I think J&D, when they first dropped their Catwoman, which is not perfect, but I still really like it, that was sort of the starter of that conversation, if you will. So
Yeah.
now the figure collecting community is you're right, they're a buzz with statue talk as well, which is quite surprising to me, and I love to see it. It just opens the door for those who can afford to get the larger pieces. They can now talk about it more openly with their friends, I guess, who collected smaller scale stuff. But the likeness thing, that's one of the issues that I always had with Prime One was they were close sometimes, but not quite. But they have been getting better and better because they have to because we've
They
got
do.
Queen now doing 1/3 scale. We've got J&D doing 1/3 scale. And I find it interesting that in the statue communities, you can have all three companies making the same character. They're all doing Joker,
Right.
where it's not like that in the figure collecting community because Hot Toys are exclusive license holders for DC. So you'll never see an Asmus or a 3.0 or a Sideshow making a Bale Batman alongside Hot Toys and another company, which I think is kind of detrimental. I like the way the statue realm operates because you can pick the best one. If you like the size of Prime 1 Bale, because it's overscale, it's big, it's huge, it's a lot bigger than the Queen. You can go that route if you like the Velvet Cape on Prime 1, or the switch outs. Or if you like the fact that you can combine Queen with the Queen Joker, which is why I went for it, then you can do that. Or if you want to go completely different, you can go for the J&D, which I do have the J&D Batman coming. I didn't get the standalone Bale in the suit, the two-pack thing. I just got the Batman. I don't know why I did that, but I guess I had FOMO. I didn't want to miss out, and my supply guy was like, "Hey, I have a spot. Do you want it?" And I was like, "I'll give it a go." I'm a big fan of seeing something in person. I didn't love the Bale head. Kind of got Jim Carrey vibes from it, but I did really like the Batman head. I thought that looked incredible,
It
and that's
did.
what let me down with Queen. Like you said in your video, you didn't buy it for the chin specifically, and it honestly it did let me down a little bit. But the Bale head on that, I really do like. So you're right. The statue collecting uh, communities are kind of, I guess, a little bit hard done by, or were a little bit hard done by with the likenesses compared to the figures, because if you're getting a Hot Toys figure, you kind of know what to expect. Where with statues, there are so many different companies. There's Sideshow, XM, Prime One, etc. You don't know from any given piece if the quality is going to continue, like if it's a comic book piece and it blows you away, but then there's a movie piece and the head sculpt isn't so great. There's no real way of knowing, I guess, what to expect, because that company may have never done a movie piece before, or may have never done a comic book based piece before. So the likeness was absolutely one of the things that kind of stopped me from getting into statues. But I'm pleased to report that out of the statues that I own, I have not been disappointed. Actually, it's a lie. There is only one statue that I got in that I was disappointed by, and then I returned it. Also because it was a bit, the quality wasn't great. I got the Prime One Golden Armor Aquaman, the massive one with the massive base holding the trident. There were a
Yes.
couple of QC issues. The trident didn't peg in properly, so it was really wobbly. And the base pieces, the waves didn't connect, so there was a huge gap in the waves. And I thought the likeness was not great. And I'd spent over $2,000 on that, and it was the first statue and only statue to date that I ended up returning. And I got something else instead. I think it was the Dark Knight Returns Batman I got instead, because he's my Batman. That is my quintessential Batman, so I had to have him. But that's the only one that I've been so let down by that I had to return it, if that makes sense.
It does, and that replacement piece is way better in my opinion. That is just an
I agree.
iconic The Dark Knight Returns, absolutely beautiful piece from
I need
Prime
that
One.
Superman now. I'm looking for that Superman.
Oh, the Hush Superman, is that or
No,
the
the
or
Superman
the
from Dark Knight Returns with on
oh
the on
yes,
the
on the
Bat
tank.
tank.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a great piece too. He's kind of walking forward, another great
Yep.
piece. So I hope you're able to find that one and pick that one up. That'd be
Me
really
too.
cool.
Oh, I'll
Um,
find it. Don't
so
worry.
I bet you will. I bet you will. So I have a question for you again. So in the statue collecting world, we have variants. They'll
Ooh.
change the color of the suit, or they'll add an extra head sculpt or something like that. In the world of figures, it seems like the new kind of thing that they're doing a lot lately are the reissues. How do you guys feel about all of these reissues? Does it piss off collectors that have
Oh,
spent so much money buying these older pieces? Where does the community kind of sit with the reissue stuff?
oh, big time. They get real mad. Usually they get real mad. Like the prime example is Hot Toys released the Beskar Mandalorian. And then because it released in Hong Kong 6 to 8 months before the US collectors were only getting it 8 months later. So it was a pretty big gap between the 1.0 and the 2.0. This is the Beskar Mando from season 2. It was a pretty big gap, but to US based collectors, it didn't seem that way because they were only just getting it through their local retailers. So then when Hot Toys announced, hey, we're doing a chrome version, which looks way better, and you are getting a head sculpt this time, they lost it. Oh, what are you talking about? I just got this one, and now you're saying there's a better one. But in reality, it was like almost a year's gap between them. Plus, the Chrome one is coming out another year after that. So they weren't even going to have it for like 2 years' time. But still, I got super upset. So I think Hot Toys maybe has learned their lesson not to do that, but other companies do variants a lot, like Sideshow, who makes a lot of statues. They sometimes do variants with their 6 scale figures. And one thing that I think all figure collectors will agree on is the whole thing about getting an exclusive head sculpt. It works for statues, but not for figures. Because if you are getting a figure and you usually aren't paying anywhere near as much as you are paying for a statue, those dollars become a little bit more important. So you don't really want to be missing out on, say, for instance, it's a Wolverine and it's a normal head and an angry head, and then he comes with nothing else, just hands. So if you are getting a standard without that exclusive head, you get nothing. You literally just get a couple of hands and that's it. So recently, I think Sideshow has stopped doing that as much, but that was something that they borrowed from the statue community was, oh, you get the exclusive, you get the second head that usually most of the time people actually really want, because Hot Toys don't usually do that. If you are getting an exclusive, it's something like, you're getting a Doctor Strange and the exclusive accessory is a book, or it's a magical effect, or something that, you could take it or leave it. It's not a make or break, where statues, absolutely it is. Like the Batman for me from the Batman, I was not going to get that standard because I want the Pattinson head. I love the Jim Lee head, and I love the other one that you call the Fabok head. I love that as well. But if it's going to be from the Batman, at the very least, I want the option to put the Batman head on that statue. Is that something for you that you would like to see some change? Do you think that they should stop doing as many variants and stop doing as many, exclusive parts and pieces that you can only get with the super double cheeseburger deluxe version?
I,
Or not?
I do really appreciate the companies doing it. And the great thing, like you were talking about the Prime One piece, let's just talk about that. So obviously they're offering 3 different versions. They're offering a standard version, they're offering a deluxe with multiple head sculpts, and now they're offering the fabric cape version. That's a super deluxe form with all 3 head sculpts and all the different swap outs and everything. And so, but they're all different price points. So in that terms, I do like the fact that, okay, they do offer the ones without the bells and whistles, because maybe that's what that collector could afford. And if you have a little extra money, and it's usually like $300 or $400 more for all the extra parts, but like those are usually the ones that I buy, because I'm a reviewer on YouTube and people want to see those. And I also want, I also want those myself. I like to be able to, like I said earlier, to be able to kind of change up the statue from time to time, to be able to give it new life. And if you have a Robert Pattinson head for a couple months, and then you want to change it to the Jim Lee head for a couple months, like that's great, because it does really change the way the statue is. And again, presence, like you mentioned earlier, it has different presence each way you swap it out. Prime One's great at that. XM is great at that. Sideshow, J&D, you mentioned J&D. They don't seem like they have a lot of swap outs yet. I bet they will as time goes on, because again, they're a newer company. But I really do appreciate those swap outs very, very much. I just think it adds a lot to the collection.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was blown away with my BVS/Suicide Squad Batman being able to swap out the pieces, and surprisingly to me, something that I never thought would happen, but the Justice League Batman, he came with a grappling gun and a fist hand. But, and I thought I was the smartest person in the world for trying this. It turns out other people have done it too. The hands from the Suicide Squad Batman are compatible with the Justice League one, so I was able to give him the Batarang holding hand, so I can have one with the grappling gun, one with the Batarang, and then tactical suit. It's got just the closed fists. So I was really happy to see that there was that cross compatibility there. But honestly, I don't think it was intended. But I was just really happy that I was actually able to do it.
Yeah, like a happy little accident, right? I mean, that's great.
Exactly.
Has there ever been let's talk about figures. Has there ever been a figure that's eluded you?
All the time. The older something is, usually the harder it is to find, or the more limited something is, the harder it is to find. Usually you can get it, but the price will, every year that you don't get it, it's going to go up, it's going to go up. So I tried to get as many older pieces as I could when they were affordable. The closer to the release date you get it, the easier it's going to be, and the less expensive it's going to be. But I found the real challenge is third-party figures, because the unlicensed stuff are made in such limited quantities that once they're gone, they're usually gone, and they get so expensive. And I guess it would be the same way with unofficial statues. I think they call it custom pieces. They
They
make them
do.
in a run of 100, 200, right? So I would imagine that it would be the same way. Although I've now found that the hardest thing for me is trying to get statues that have sold out.
They can be
They are
very difficult. And it really
yes. Is
depends.
it for you as well?
Yeah, I was to say it really depends on the company sometimes. And sometimes statues that you would think wouldn't be that hard to get are. And
Yeah.
sometimes like I'll give you an example of XM Studios. XM Studios has the Samurai line. That line, the older pieces are very, very difficult to find, and the prices have gone up just astronomically. Whereas some companies, even like some Prime One pieces, they're able to get it on the secondary market for well under retail. So it's really weird. And some pieces, like I have the Batman Who Laughs from Prime One Studio, 1/3 scale. It has become this grail piece, and we use the term grail. I don't know if you
The
guys
one that
do
your
in the
wife
figure.
really doesn't
Yeah.
like.
Yes, I absolutely hates that word. But Grail, it's become a Grail piece in the community, and it goes for well over $2,000 now.
Whoa.
And it's one of those pieces that it's an awesome piece. It's one of my favorites in my collection, but no one would have necessarily predicted that would have skyrocketed like it did. So it's very strange. Does the same thing happen in the figure world?
Yeah, it honestly, it usually comes down to what film is coming out, or there has to be some sort of catalyst for there to be that want. So I wouldn't be surprised if, now that we're getting Hawkeye, now that Spider-Man No Way Home just came out, that some Spidey pieces that are long since sold out, or some Hawkeye pieces that are long since sold out, will start to climb on the aftermarket. Venom only just came out, and when he sold out, immediately the price skyrocketed. But then Hot Toys, luckily, came to everyone's rescue and did a 1.5 version, which is
Sure.
exactly the same as the original. A little bit of a soft reissue, if you will, and then the prices drop back down. So it's a lot more likely, I guess, in the figure collecting world, for there to be like a soft reissue like we saw for Venom, just with a couple of new parts and pieces. Then I don't think we're going to see like a Justice League Batman from Prime 1 and it sells out, and then they're going to get a Justice League Batman again from Prime 1, but just slightly different. I don't see that happening. They, at least Prime 1, I've noticed, treat it with a little bit of respect. They're like, okay, we've done this character, we're moving on to the next character because we know there are other characters people want in this scale to go along with the line. But interestingly enough, like you said, some statues go for under retail. Just recently, I managed to get a real good deal, and I know it's not on a statue that people probably really like, but someone had on eBay, the same guy I got my BVS Batman from, the Suicide Squad one, sorry, he had Jared Leto Joker, also from Suicide Squad.
Yep.
And I have the J&D Harley coming. I don't love the Prime 1 Harley. Really wanted to get the Joker, even though not everyone loves Leto. I do. So he had it listed for $150 bidding. And I was like, no way it's going to go for $150. I'll put a cheeky little bid on, see what happens. Again, no box, had to pick it up. But I was waiting, and it went up to 200, and I was like, 200, still pretty good. So I put 250,
Great.
and I won it. I got it for 250.
Wow.
250 Australian dollars, which is like 150 US for a third
Oh,
scale. I was
that is
like, what?
killer. That is incredible. I had that
Best deal
statue
I've got.
for a while. Yeah, it's a great piece. I just cannot believe the price
pleased
point.
to
That
hear
is
that.
incredible.
Yeah,
Just absolutely
me
incredible.
too.
Wow.
I could
Yeah.
not believe that I won it for that. It was on a day, because he had like 5 other statues listed. It was on a day that I lost and I lost and I lost. So when I won that one, I was like, yes. But then he had a Bane, the Dark Knight Rises Bane, the deluxe version with the hands on the vest. He
Yes.
had that listed as well, and that went for way more than I was expecting. But the guy who bought it didn't read the listing, and he said pick up only, and this guy was in another state, he couldn't pick it up. So the guy told me, he said, hey, you're coming to get Joker, do you want Bane as well? And I was like, ooh, yes I do. So I managed to work out a deal for Bane, so now I will be having a Bane. I don't know where I'm going to put all... Chris, where am I going to put all these damn things? What the hell? What's going on?
Again, that is the hardest part. And I don't know if you've seen, but I've been like, I'm contemplating doing all custom shelving in this
I
cave,
have
in
been
this
watching,
space.
yes.
And that's again, I'm just trying to come up with the best use of space that I can, including some vertical space. I like everything kind of like at, like chest level, kind of like, or waist level.
Yeah, me too.
Because I just feel like it presents better that way. But like, I'm running out of room. And so you have to like improvise. And like, again, some people have said, my wife keeps saying, hey, Chris, you should just go buy a house and just put your collection in that house. And I'm like, well, maybe that's what I need to do, buy like a $60,000 home or something and just, put all my
Move
stuff in there.
everything over.
I don't know. But yeah, space
Yeah.
continues to be just an insane issue, I think, for most statue collectors, for sure. I have a couple more questions for you. I know we probably need to wrap it up here soon, but I was curious if you could make or have any company make you a statue for any character you would like to have made. What would you love to see made and add to your collection?
It's a great question. Technically, this has been made, but not in the scale that I want. I want a third scale Nightmare Batman, and I know Queen Studios is working on one, so I'm really excited to see that. I'm really excited because I love Queen Studios. I've got a great relationship with them. I can't wait to hopefully I'll be able to get that in hand and see it as soon as it's out. So that's my one sort of, I don't know this word, grail statues.
Sure,
I want a Nightmare Batman, but I guess I want to flip that. If there was one figure that they made that would bring you back in and be like, yep, that's it, need to have it, hands down, what would it be?
I just want more Jack Nicholson. I want the Joker. I actually filmed a video, so this is going to be a spoiler for that video, but I talk about the fact that I really want, I've ordered a couple busts from Infinity Studios. I've ordered the Margot Robbie bust and also the Heath Ledger bust. I'll probably order the Bale Batman bust, but if Infinity Studios or Queen for that matter would make a life-size Nicholson bust or even a Michelle Pfeiffer bust, I would absolutely, that would be like a dream come true piece. That's the Batman I grew up. I saw Batman 89 13 times in the theater when I was a kid. Like that was my jam. And I know Nicholson is very difficult. Hot Toys is literally one of the only companies to ever do him justice with those two figures that they released. I actually owned the first one. I wish I would have kept it. But I just absolutely would love to see any sort of, whether it's a figure, whether it's a statue, whether it is a bust, I would love to see Jack Nicholson's Joker for sure.
I would love to see that too. And a Keaton to go along with him. Imagine a Joker with a swap out head sculpt that has the museum scene with the makeup running down.
That's my favorite. Yeah,
I would love to see that. Come on, someone, Prime One, you all said you were doing Keaton. What happened to that? You forgot about it. Bring it back.
From what I heard is that Keaton didn't sign off. Like he wouldn't approve the likeness, and the likeness was really, really good. I actually saw some early renders, and I just think that he's hard. But although there are some companies like Darkside Collectibles that are starting to tease that they're going to be doing it, so I'm thinking that maybe some of these companies are finally getting these licenses. Maybe enough time has passed, but fingers crossed. I am very optimistic that we'll start seeing some of these characters, especially with the new Flash movie. I think that there'll be a lot more interest in the Michael Keaton again. And so again, I'm very hopeful that we'll start seeing some of that.
I would be excited to see more Keaton stuff as well. I haven't gotten into the life-size bust yet, but I've just started working with Infinity, and they've offered me a great opportunity to pick up the Tactical Suit Batman bust, which I know you had. I don't know if you've sold it or you've moved it on yet, but he's my favorite Batman. Affleck is my Batman. He's my guy. Like Keaton is your guy. So I think I need to at least get it in, see it, own it for a little. I don't know if I'm going to keep it forever. We'll see.
Here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna do a little spoiler alert for your channel. Okay, you are going to open it and your jaw is going to hit the floor. You are going to be amazed by the sheer size of it. Like it is. I couldn't get over the fact of like I have a lot of big statues in this collection. I've got 1/3 scale everywhere, but it dwarfed. I mean everything else. Like it was just massive, and your eye. If you have somebody walk into your collection with that amazing collection behind you, you're going to have somebody walk into your room and that's the only place their eye is going to go. Like it is, it blows your mind. It is just insanely good. It looks like he's breathing. It's just that well done. And you will absolutely go insane when you see it.
Now I'm even more excited to get it. Damn.
Yeah, you. It's just I can't describe it. It literally looks like he is in the room with you. It is just Infinity Studios has done a tremendous job.
I know they're making Pattinson as well, and even though I haven't seen the movie, I have faith in Pattinson. When they announce that life-size Pattinson bust, I'm gonna get that day one. I must have it. I don't know
It
why.
looks
I love it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. I hope they tweak the pose a little bit. I thought it was a little bit, it needed to be a little bit more action posed, but obviously just very early renders. I don't know if you saw it or not,
Very
but
early. Yes. Yeah.
so I think anything that they touch from here on out is going to be gold. I think just their Aquaman is incredible. Their Mira, obviously their Anne Hathaway Catwoman. I haven't pre-ordered her yet, but I think I'm going to, and just kind of do a wall of those busts from Dark Knight.
Oh, that would be awesome.
And then, of course, the Margot Robbie one. I don't know where I'm going to put her either. Again, these things are massive too, although those are not as big as the Batman. The Batman, I think, is their biggest one. That and their Aquaman is the biggest one they've done so far. So some of those female busts are going to be a little bit smaller. Thank God. I'm really excited. Yeah. But I'm excited for those busts. I think they're going to be quite incredible.
It's just the space. That was always a space issue. I reviewed the Queen Studios Wonder Woman, and I thought that was one of the largest things that I've ever viewed. So now that you're saying the Batman is huge, I don't know what I'm going to.
It is just so big, but again, you're going to be wowed. You're going to be amazed. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
Now I'm even more excited.
That's right. Well, bottom line, we could go on for hours talking about statues versus figures, but the great thing about all of this is there's so much variety and there's so many different price points. There's something out there for everyone. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, I sit at the 6 scale and above level, but there are so many smaller. I've started reviewing smaller scale stuff now because it's so accessible, and that means that more people can have more cool stuff. And at the end of the day, there is nothing wrong with more people having more cool stuff. And then it hopefully, as time goes on, they can start to get into larger and larger and large scales until you end up becoming like Chris and I, where we're getting literally half people to put in our collection for us.
That's exactly right. So, definitely stay tuned to our channels because there's going to be a whole bunch of craziness going on over the next year. Believe me, I cannot wait to see all the things that you have coming in. So if you've been living under a rock, where can people find you on social media, on YouTube, and everywhere else? Tell us.
You can find me on YouTube at Justin's Collection, on Instagram, same name, and Facebook, same thing. I don't share as much on the socials, but mostly on YouTube. I try and drop daily content, so you'll hopefully see a new video of some sort every single day. So there should be something to enjoy. But yeah, I guess come along, check it out. Maybe you'll find something that you like. I will be doing more statue stuff, and my statue videos are completely different to my figure reviews. I've done them in a completely different style. It's something new that I never tried to do before, way more cinematic. I'm just having so much fun with it. So, come along. Maybe you'll find something you enjoy. Maybe.
Absolutely. Well, definitely please do me a favor and check out his channel. Tell him the BSC sent you. Please comment. Please like his videos. Again, he has an incredible, incredible channel with an incredible following. And I would love for you guys watching to be a part of that channel if you haven't done so already, for sure.
Well, thanks, Chris. It's been absolutely awesome chatting to you. I love talking about statues. I love talking about figures. As you said, we can go on for hours, and I'm sure we will in the future. We'll stream together. We'll do future stuff. I have CollectorCon coming up sometime next year, so I'm sure we're going to have a ton of fun going into that as well.
Well, I look forward to that. I hope to be a part of it. It sounds absolutely amazing. And again, I just love being part of this community. I know you do as well. And I just cannot wait to see what all happens in 2022. It's going to be amazing. I just cannot wait.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see what comes out, what happens. But I'm sure that everyone watching will be seeing both of us collecting. And I'm hoping that they can follow along with the journey and collect some good, cool stuff themselves.
Absolutely. And again, make sure you please check out Justin's channel. If you haven't checked out this channel or you haven't subscribed, please do so. Again, the Batman Statue Collector channel here on YouTube. And again, Batman Statue Collector Instagram and all those other places. So again, thank you guys so very much for checking out the video. Justin, it was so cool to talk to you today. And again, I can't wait to do this again in the future.
Now, I do have to say a massive thank you to Chris for taking time out of his day to sit down and talk to me, the statue noob, about statues as well as the figure side of it as well. It's been a ton of fun. Do let us know if you have any topic suggestions down in the comments below, because this will be by no means the last time we'll be making a video together. We're already working out how we're going to do our next project. There may be a few live streams coming up as well. Check out the links to Chris's channel and Instagram in the description below. As I said in the intro, he makes some fantastic content. While you're down there, check out the link to 6 Scale Network, the Facebook group. Come along, chat figures, share photos of your collection, and of course, see what's coming up next on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.